Hey, everybody. Okay, so I know the camera goes in and out of focus when I move, so I'm going to try to find a place to get some focus and try to stick there. So hopefully that works. What we are talking about tonight actually, is time management. And y'all have been waiting for this part of the program. Everybody kind of comes and wants to know exactly how to manage their time. How are they going to manage their time so they can fit everything in and leave on time and still have a home life? And they just want the secret for time management. And that's what everybody comes with. And I get it. And this is a perfect night for it because I am truly going to do this in one take. And this is it. I need to deliver this. And things went wrong this weekend that I didn't plan on. So this is a perfect example. This is me. I'm literally in my sweatpants. It is literally 8:28 at night. I literally want to be done by 9 and out of here. Today I had a production issue, and the time that I was going to spend doing these videos today, that 5 hours went to a production issue. So here we go. The secret to time management is to love yourself. I can hear the groans. Oh no, this is no help. I'm going to teach you, right, how I got to that conclusion, but I'm also going to share with you actually some steps that you can actually take, and here they go. So you guys want tactics? Here they come. This, Stephen Covey. I've been researching and learning and trying time management probably since I had my own business back in the late 80s, early 90s. So I have tried a ton of different time management techniques. And that's how I can say to you, one thing is for sure, everybody who talks about time management, they all start with finding your values. And it's interesting, but when you're looking for a tactic, you're like, what? It's really true. Now I understand why. Because if you don't value yourself, you will never value your time. And if you don't value your time, you will never use it appropriately. That's a quote, and when you get your email, I'll tell you who said that. I don't remember right now, and I'm not stopping to look it up. But here we go. Stephen Covey has the quadrant theory. Actually, his quadrants would turn just a little bit. But here is from 0 importance to 10 importance. So things get more important as they head this way. Things get more urgent as they go that way. This quadrant here is urgent but not important. This quadrant here is urgent and important. So Stephen Covey calls this quadrant number 1. It's urgent and it's important. And for us in IT, a production problem, systems unaccessible to people on a Sunday, which happens to be Mother's Day, it's urgent and it's important. And so everything falls to the side. The problem with being in IT is there's a lot of urgent and important stuff that comes up. We don't have as much flexibility as other people in other industries that are knowledge industries. So here is the urgent but not important. This is the area where most of your progress gets made. You want to try to spend your time in the important but not urgent. This is doing projects ahead of time. This is getting stuff done in advance. This is sitting down and thinking about strategies and critical thinking. You cannot get here if you have too much of this. So you need to make sure that you're doing everything you can to prevent in advance urgent and important things from popping up, right? So you fight a fire once, that's fine, but you need to make sure you're not having any fires so that you can be down here. Okay, so if you manage a team, great. You want to be looking at cleaning up those things. You always want to be doing your root cause analysis, et cetera, et cetera. You want to be, if you're a developer, you want to make sure you're testing and clearing your bugs out before they become something that is urgent and important and pulls you off of the projects that you really want to do, which are the important but not urgent things. Over here, we have urgent and not important. This is the quadrant you have to look for. This is when somebody comes up to you and they say, this is really urgent. It might be urgent to them, or it might seem urgent, but it's not important. You have to get out of that quadrant. A lot of emails are like that. They seem urgent. There's a little bell that goes off, but they're not important. That you need to get rid of. You need to delegate them down to their proper time. When there's a chance to do them, hand them off to other people. Sometimes say no. And then we have the not important and not urgent. Not important and not urgent. TV shows that you're not really watching. Social media. All those little time suckers. This is the quadrant of waste. I'm not talking about reading a book that is purely for pleasure. Doing things for pleasure may not seem important, but if it's part of your personal time, it's important. So what is important, right? We are not saying this is your personal free time. Personal free time doesn't belong here. Personal free time belongs here. Important and not urgent. So don't get that confused. There's going on Facebook and spending a half an hour when you really meant just to check your emails. That is a waste. Sitting down to read a romance novel or a sci-fi novel or going to a movie because that's something you love, that is important. It's important to do things you love. So make sure you don't confuse yourself and think personal time belongs here. It belongs over here. All right, that's Stephen Covey's. I got to move on. I don't want to keep these. I don't want these to be long. Here we go. David Allen, Getting Things Done. Very popular right now. There's lots of people out there that ascribe to his. You go through everything that you have, and then you make a bunch of lists and folders out of it. I started to try it this year. It quickly fell apart, and I spent more time filing and sorting than I did actually getting things done. It does work for a lot of people. You might want to check it out. But what the most important thing to learn out of that is if it takes 2 minutes or less, do it now. The 2 minutes or less things, do not put them off to later. And the reason why is his theories are all about cognitive loops. A cognitive loop, if it's open, drains your mental energy. So what you want to do is you want to close open loops. So for him, closing an open loop means putting it on a list where you know you won't forget it so that you can stop thinking about it. So for a lot of us, that's just our to-do list. You may want to have, if you have a planner or something that you work with or a Kanban board, put out some of those other things that you're thinking of so that you don't have to keep thinking about them again. No matter what, having a place where you write down notes, and this is really the best thing I got out of his, besides 2 minutes and do it, the other thing is carry a notebook. Carry a notebook. And what you do is you jot down, it's a little pocket notebook, and you jot down things you don't want to forget so you can stop using brain power for it. But you have to religiously clear out that notebook and put that information somewhere. If your brain knows you will never look at it again, and it'll continue to remember this stuff. This gets tricky and can take a lot of time. I'm not a big fan of David Allen, but a lot of people are. Next one. Julie Morgenstern. I love hers. She did time management from the inside out. She was an organizational. She made her name by organizing closets and things like that. She's fabulous. I have 2 closets in my house that I have organized using her method 10 years ago, and they are still organized. The rest of my house is a shambles. So her methodology is fantastic. She took that, the idea of how you work with space, and turn that into how do you work with time, basically with the same concept. If you have a closet that is so many cubic feet, this is all, you can only put so many cubic feet worth of items in it, and then you're done because you're out of space. The same concept with time. And this is very important. You have X amount of hours. Stuff takes a specific amount of time to do. You don't have any more than that. And when you're out of time, you're out of time. Facing that reality forces you to cut things down, pare things down, and focus on the things that you really want to do. So she proposed making time maps out of your week, putting in all the things that you want to do, understanding when you don't have enough time, and understanding that really facing the fact that there's only so much. Most of us go out and we put all the stuff on the calendar, we see it can't be done, we throw out the calendar and do it anyway. What? How does that work? Well, we don't really do it all anyway, right? We never quite get to all of it, but we feel like there's still a possibility maybe next week. So don't lie to yourself about how much time you have. I'm a big one for that. I lie to myself all the time about it. All right. Brooke Castillo, calendar it all. Her theory is that you're too smart to overbook yourself, and that is where she and I part ways, because that's not true. There are plenty of people out here who are very, very smart. This thing is a pain in the neck. Who are really, really smart, who overpack their schedules anyway. So she says, well, you won't let yourself overpack your schedule. Like, no, that's just not true. We do it, and you can make yourself just a little bit crazy. But her theory is you put everything on your calendar, and you start with your free time first, and then everything else has an amount of time, and you do it within that time amount, whether you like it or not. Do B- work. Do whatever you have to do to complete it within that time. So that is hers, and it aligns with Julie Morgenstern's time boxing, which is you have a certain amount of time in which to get things done, and then you commit to that time. And that brings us back to Stephen Covey, where we started before, which is the big rocks first. Go Google, or I'll send you a link in the email to a YouTube video of Stephen Covey doing his big rocks first demonstration. It is fabulous. He takes a big jar and he puts big rocks in. And when you see that, you realize that you will never be able to fit in the most important, the big, urgent, big, important things that are in that quadrant of important but not urgent. You won't get them in unless you put them in first. So go Google that video. It is awesome. Of course, Stephen Covey, I love him. He's passed away, but now, if work expands to fill the time allowed, and I can't remember the name of the guy who said that. If I'd had enough time, I would have looked that up too. The key is you don't allow it to expand. And that's what all of these people are talking about. You don't allow your work to expand to fill the time allowed. You keep that time down to a set amount. You with me so far? No, right? You're all confused. I'm trying to tell you there are a lot of theories on time management. I've brought it down to 3 things. So for you guys, for this week, to start your time management work, the first thing I want you to do is schedule your time first. And yes, you have to use a calendar. I don't care if you use a paper calendar or if you use a Google Calendar or what you do, but you must use a calendar. I use a paper planner. I use the Franklin Covey paper planner. But I also use a Google Calendar so that I can get reminders on my phone. I've got my clients booking me through Acuity. And then I have my Outlook calendar at work. But I want one place where I can see work and personal. And I have 2 businesses plus a full-time job and a family. And I love to read, and I have 2 great dogs, and I have a volunteer gig. So I have a very full life. You have to put it all on a calendar if you're going to fit it in. And here's where we get down to none of this stuff works if you don't think you're important. You have to believe in your own value. You have to believe you are 100%. You are as valuable, you're 100% lovable, you are as valuable as you will ever be and as you ever would ever need to be. You are all the valuable you're ever going to be. You're going to be now, you're going to be in the future. Nobody is more valuable than another person. Everybody has equal value. We can get to a long conversation about criminals and all the things about that, but just stick with me here. If you believe you are valuable as anybody else, as important as anybody else, and as deserving of having a good life as anybody else, then you can say no, because a lot of the pressures that come to us come from other people or what we think other people expect of us, and it's hard to say no. And then what we do is we let all of that stuff eat up our time, and we're left with no time for ourselves. And then what happens is we say, well, I don't have any time. I'm willing to give all my time away. And then we don't really force ourselves to figure out how to get the stuff done because we are willing to allow it to escape into our personal time and overrun it. If you refuse to allow it to take over your personal time, then you have to figure out how to fit it in. Then you have to figure out what to say no to. And all of a sudden, the urgent and not important stuff becomes very clear, and that goes. And all of a sudden, it becomes very important to figure out how to not have a fire again. Like I had a fire today. I got to figure out how I'm never having that happen to me again, right? Because it's very inconvenient, and I wind up at 8:30 at night doing a video that's slightly too long because I'm not going to have time to edit it, and I have to get it done. Okay? So here we go. Number one, schedule your time first. I don't care what you start with this week. I would advise you not to go too far overboard with it, but I don't care. Whatever you pick as your free time, however much free time you want in a week, put it on your calendar, and it is it. That's it. If you need 4 hours a day of just nothing scheduled in order to have the life that you want to have, dude, do that. You are on the planet, right? You're on this planet. You have an equal shot as anybody else of having the life you want, and you get to figure out what it is you want. So put that personal time on that calendar. And I don't care if it's 20 minutes a day, then fine. I don't care. And it's not about what you have. Like, some people say, oh, well, if all you have is 20 minutes, then schedule that. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what you want. What do you want? What do you need? Put it on the calendar. So for me, I thought, like, you know what? 4 o'clock on Saturday, I'm going to stop, and I'm not going to return to looking at work until after dinner on Sunday, 6 o'clock. I wanted from 4 p.m. Saturday to 6 p.m. Sunday clear. So I did that for a while, plus some time on Wednesdays. Then I thought of things I wanted to do that are not free time, but they are things that I'm really interested in doing, and then I gave up some of that. But 4 o'clock Saturday, I stopped. On 4 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, I don't care what I'm doing, how far I got. I'm done. At least until I wake up the next day on Sunday. So don't try to get me to do anything on Saturday night that is not like whatever comes up, or me and my husband just hanging together. So there it is. So your task this week for time management is simply figure out how much free time you want in a week. Make it good. Make it something worth fighting for. Don't make it wussy. You know, don't make it so skimpy that you don't care whether you get it or not. Pick what you really want. Do you want an hour? Oh, here's the other thing. Until I started trying to get my coaching business going, Friday after work was my romance novel time. I read a romance. I have a glass of wine Friday after work. It's good times. It's whatever, right? Pick your thing that you want. It has to be something you look forward to and time that you want. And then schedule that in. And then ask yourself how you're going to get it done. How do you get that time? Figure it out, because you put it on the calendar, then you're going to honor it. Once you put it on your calendar, you're on the hook for it. You do it. It's on the calendar. It's as good as done. So be careful what you put there. The next thing is, in the rest of your time, you want to schedule your big rocks. So this week, think about what are the most important things for you to get done. So you sit down on Sunday night and you say, look, if I get out of this week and I have these 3 things done, those are the most important things. And you put them on the calendar. And you schedule, how long will it take you to do it? What are all the tasks that you need to get done in order to get that one big thing done? Then you put them on the calendar, and then you do not break that commitment. Unless a production support thing comes up, it's urgent and important, and then you go like crazy to try to figure out how you fit it in, like I'm doing now. Sorry, you're going to get this unedited. All right, and the last thing is create habit stacks. For the smaller things, you can create a habit stack. So this week, I just want you to create one habit stack. And a habit stack is a trigger, an action, and a positive response. So here you go. Here's a habit stack I've got. If I see a dish, I do what needs to be done with it. And then I admire how the area looks. That's a small little habit stack. So what I do is if I see a dish, so for me, it's like emptying the dishwasher, things like that. If I have a dish on the counter and it needs to be washed, I wash it. If I have a dish on the counter in the drying rack and it's dry, I put it away. If I see a dish on the table and it needs to go in the dishwasher, I put it in the dishwasher. Before I leave a room, I look around and see what those dishes are. It's just a little thing. And what it does is and if I go into the kitchen and I see that the light's on, it means the dishwasher's done. I just have to. That's a tiny little habit of just always dealing with dishes so that I don't have them piled up in my sink. I hate to come to that sink and have it all piled up and then I can't work in it. So I like to have all my dishes away. So this is it. That's a little habit stack. Another habit stack might look like this. I get up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I put my sweatpants on and my shirt, I get a cup of coffee, I take the dogs out, I come back in and I sit and meditate. And when I'm done, I notice how good I feel. You want to have a trigger, something that happens all the time. I see a dish all the time. Or I get out of bed. You want that trigger. And then you want the action you're going to do. And then you want to have a little bit of positive reinforcement at the end, just acknowledging that it feels good, that it was a good result, that you're proud of yourself for doing it. Do not try to cram your calendar full of everything and solve all your time management problems in one day. It's not going to happen. So for this week, put some free time on your calendar and make it good. Make it something you look forward to. Schedule your most important things for work. What is the most important thing for you to get done? Schedule them on there. If you have to say no to a meeting, if you have to cancel a meeting, do it. And then find one thing that you want to make a habit and make a habit stack out of it. You do all 3 of those things this week, your head's going to explode. Now, the reason I made you listen, the reason you had the 24 doc is because think about what you were going to do if that was your last day. When you do that 24-hour doc worksheet that I gave you, you should be thinking about those things that you were going to do on, if this was your last day in your last 24 hours, how did you spend it on that paper? How do you spend your days now? What is the delta? right? The delta between what you're doing now and what you would do if you valued your time like it was the most precious thing, and it is, that delta is where you have to work. And that delta, the understanding and the awareness of that delta is what makes it important and makes us want to manage our time. Until you acknowledge that there are things that are vitally important to you that you would do on your last day on this planet, and that you are worthy of having those results. And you are, trust me, 100%. Until you acknowledge that there are things that are important to you and that you are important and deserve those things, you will fail at time management. Once you acknowledge that and you start to schedule in those most important things, whether it be and start to make some rules around those things, that's when you start to get a handle on work-life balance. So for me, another thing that happened today is my granddaughter came down. I have a rule. It's another way. You can also add rules to this. One of my rules is, right, if a production support issue comes on, I handle it. Another rule is, if my granddaughter comes down, I stop what I'm doing and I always spend time with her, whatever it is. So she came down. So I had a production support issue. Then my granddaughter came down. And then it was 8:30 at night. I still have a blog to do. I have 7 minutes. So that's it. This is the beginning of time management for you guys. Do the 24-hour worksheet if you didn't do it. You're crazy if you don't do it. Do it. Find the delta. Find out what the heck you would do with your time that's so important. If you do not believe that you are worthy, sign up with me and I will walk you through how you generate a purpose for your life and how you find self-compassion and self-love, because you are 100% lovable. You are a perfectly worthy person. I have no doubt right now, if you never produced another thing on this planet, you are 100% worthy, 100% lovable, and you should have the experience of loving yourself. And when you feel like that about yourself and you feel that you're important and you understand what you're missing, scheduling in your own time becomes a mandate. All right, scheduling your time, scheduling your big rocks, create one habit stack. You do all that in a week, you're gonna blow your mind. All right, kids, have fun.